Welcome. I wanted to start talking about wallet security a little bit because big issue here. I keep seeing tweets on crypto Twitter. I mean, we have for a long time. This space is growing and it's very nascent. So obviously, some of it is very complex and the UI is not very easy to understand. So I thought I'd introduce myself, some of my background, what I do in this space, and what I did before that might help some others. Um, Here you can see I'm here. I'm pretty doxxed. I go by Trislet on everything. Uh, I'm on Twitter, all my projects and everything. I go by the name of Trislet. I try to keep it in the same. So if you hear from Trislet, it's me. It's pretty hard to, so I don't have to worry about people finding different names and different other pieces. So that's why I try to stick to the same name no matter where I am. Uh, let's see. And so part of the conversation here when we start talking about wallet security, why I'm bringing this up and why I am here to talk about it. So, a little bit about me. I'm the owner of TokenSmart and I was a co founder of NFT 42. And a lot of my time in the crypto space has been spent helping projects deliver, get started. Usually I'll come in and I'll talk to, I like to talk to the developers a little bit, try to get an understanding of what they're trying to deliver. And if I see any real issues there, I usually try to call them out and say, hey, do you need help with this? Like I can help. So with that attitude has gotten me involved with a lot of projects over the years. So I've seen a lot of different security practices and things that they've done. Uh, a little background before crypto, I've been in the IT sector for a couple decades at least. And my primary role for a lot of that career was in DevOps, security operations. So a lot of my role would be to come in, help with procedures, standard operating procedures that you'd get for backups, transfer of data, VPN connections, all the stuff that you would need to do to make sure your tunnel is encrypted. So I've been involved with that for a long time in the past. I've had to do FERPA, HIPAA stuff for institutions, hospitals, legal offices, a lot of manufacturing places to help them beat ISO 9000 certifications, stuff like that. Um, the reason I bring this up is because I've seen a lot of people talking about, especially when people get hacked. Usually it's a rough thing to go through, and sometimes the feedback really is, well, not your seeds, not your, token, or like not if the crypto isn't custodied by you, then obviously it's not you and you deserve everything you got. It's not that simple most of the time. These tools are not very easily understood without a lot of explanation. Um, but a lot of the scams that I'm seeing have been scams for a long time. Maybe they're just the focus has shifted, but this is all stuff that we've had to do a lot in the past. So when people try to make it out to like a new thing, it's really not. So we need to start following some standard practices that have been in place for a long time. Um, so I wanted to go over some of those a little bit. Now, everybody who's in crypto or has actually bought an NFT and transferred things probably understands the tools such as Wallet Connect, MetaMask, these sorts of things. And then you hear people talk about hot, cold wallets, things like that. Uh, so I find it's easier to understand a lot of these crypto topics by using analogies from our normal everyday life. And a good way to look at that sort of thing is when you're trying to deal with your own personal finances, you have a checking and a savings account. Savings account is supposed to be, I know it doesn't always work that way, but a savings account is supposed to be where you put a little money aside for a rainy day. This is the account you don't touch. Your checking account is normally the one that, you've got bills every month, you've got to move stuff in and out. Your checking account is your hot wallet. If somebody ever got access to your bank account, your debit card, the checking account is what they would have access to usually. The savings account is usually once removed from that. And that's a really good analogy in that if you're going to be working on things, you got to be randomly clicking links, you got to be degenning into stuff and clicking, stuff that just comes across your feed. That should be in a wallet that if it gets hit or if you fail to read what you're clicking on, it should be okay if it gets taken or stolen. Whereas the savings account, you're a cold wallet, that's if you've got something you really want to protect or be more protective of, you would move it to that savings account. So In crypto, it's people keep talking wallet, and the problem with that term is that a wallet, when you're used to it in real life, your wallet is in your pocket. It's where you carry your cash, where you carry your cards. So if you've got $100 in cash, it's in your pocket in this wallet. Now in crypto, even though it's called a wallet, the wallet isn't holding your assets. All your wallet is just a key that unlocks a lockbox somewhere else. So when people say cold and hot wall storage, cold does not mean you're actually taking it off the internet and people don't have access to it. All you're doing is just taking the key offline, but that lockbox that holds your NFTs is still on the internet. So if somebody finds a separate key to that lockbox, they can access it just as easily as you can. So I hope this part is helpful, just trying to clarify some terms because it's really important you understand that change in thinking before these tools that I'm going to bring up make more sense. So, cold wallet, we've got Ledger and Trezor. Those are the big ones. A hardware wallet, all it is the key itself is not online all the time, whereas MetaMask is a browser extension. So if somebody were to send some sort of script or you downloaded some malicious hard software to your computer, it can access MetaMask because it's on your computer. It's a browser extension. It has to store your private key, which, if you remember when you set up your wallet, it asked you to write down that 12 or 24 character word phrase and never give it to anybody. That's your seed key. That's stored on your computer by using MetaMask. So there are paths to go around. If they can get access to your MetaMask, if you store that key somewhere locally, if it's in a text file, anybody who gets access to your computer now has that key, whether you like it or not. Now, a ledger, on the other hand, that key that it uses is actually offline. So if they hack your computer, they install malicious software, they can't just sign transactions using your browser wallet like your MetaMask. You have a physical key, which I do have one right here. This key plugs into the computer, and when I send a transaction using my ledger, this will come up with a code. You have to put in a PIN number, just like your debit card, before it'll allow it to go off. Now, that physical piece makes it so if somebody were to install malicious code on your computer, that next step where you have to sign off, they can't do it without your physical key. That's why it's that extra piece gives you that extra that extra layer that you have to take physical action to move something. So this is important because if you say you were a crypto fan 3 or 4 years ago and you claimed a CryptoPunk and you've had it sitting in your hot wallet for a long time, it may have not mattered then when you bought it, but now years later and the price has gone through the roof. Like your security focus should be just like you would in normal life, where instead of storing it in a checking account, that should be migrated to your savings account, which in this case is a ledger. That gives it at least one movement away from what's freely available to anybody outside. Now, that's great for most top level ones. So now we're talking about, okay, I just got scammed. Somebody installed something. I accidentally put my seed phrase in. They're draining everything. Like if those assets had been in a separate ledger controlled account, they wouldn't be able to just drain it automatically because you installed some malicious software. Now, if the hack you had was a social one and they had you sign something you didn't really understand, you could still sign it with this. So now you're not protected from some of the more advanced attacks just by using this, but you are protected by the random phishing ones that just get sent out blindly to everybody. So with that, these two tools are supposed to work together, and that if you want to move something, hey, I want to sell my CryptoPunk, now I'm ready to capitulate, I want to get the money. Usually you still wouldn't want to use that ledger to sell it from. You'd usually want to transfer it to another wallet that you sell from, so that you're not accidentally signing things. In fact, when people see you trying to sell it, that's when you have people reaching out saying, hey, I'll give you more money if we do it offline, and they send you to some sort of malicious app, or they try to play some funny tricks or something. A really good thing to keep in mind when it comes to hacks, scams, everything, which it's not just crypto. It's very much before crypto ever came. It was always been an issue. Is if somebody ever comes to you and demands, a lot of money and say you have to make a decision now, you've got 5 seconds, like say yes or no. You should probably say no because there's something else going on. Anybody who's going to transfer hundreds of thousands of dollars for anything will give you the time to think about it if they're a legitimate business transaction. Just full stop. So that's more of a social engineering attack. It's an interesting concept, that an interesting topic that I wanted to bring up and kind of really push hard here is that those types of scams have nothing to do with crypto. Those have been scams that I've seen forever. If you have, yeah, if you run your business off Facebook, all somebody has to do is get your password to Facebook and they've got your business. If they do the same thing with your Etsy account, they have your Etsy account. Now they can maliciously send links. Your entire customer base is basically theirs to scam all they want. Like these security practices are the same whether it's in crypto or not in crypto. So thinking that crypto is, less safe than these other practices is not the right way to go. And it actually is, it's making it a little more difficult for people to understand where the issues are because they just assume, well, it's crypto, obviously, it's not safe. This is all a big scam. It's like, this is all common stuff that's been happening in corporate worlds for decades easily at this time. I mean, well, even before that, people were still having to, it's similar to any sort of catfish, anything else like that. It's like, hey, send me a check. I don't have, hey, I need money. Can you send me money? Or it's like, are you calling up an older person and pretending to be their grandson? Because and it's like, because, hopefully it's like maybe they're suffering from some mental issues or something like that. And they're not actually paying attention to what's happening. Or they're so worried because their grandson's calling and he's in trouble. Obviously they're going to jump and help. They want to do this. Like, these are the same scams. They're just more, they seem more technical now, but they're still the same scam. So it's still in your best interest to stay vigilant on that front. But I did want to introduce one additional step that I don't see a lot of people talking about. And here's where I wanted to have my screen share up, because I wanted to bring this up, is Gnosis provides what's called a multi-sig contract. Now we're getting a little more technical here, but also we're providing the next layer where you start seeing real security, real pieces where it's like, okay, I minted a board 8. I'm so excited because, I happened to be there early on. It only cost me, I think they were $30 or $40 when they minted. They're now floor prices maybe $150,000. Like, this is an asset that has grown in popularity and value, that has become an extremely large target. You're basically putting a bullseye on your back, but you've got an ape because people see it. So you start getting hit with more things. So you're going to be getting a lot more sophisticated pieces trying to get you to click on things. So multi-sig, usually normally you would never deal with a multi-sig concept unless you're in a corporate financial world, where you'd, in normal corporate places, if you're trying to do a project and you've got more money that needs to go over a certain limit, maybe maybe you're a manager, you're able to approve anything up to $1,000 or something. If it goes over 1,000 in a normal corporate cycle, you would have to go to your next level up, get approval for more money, and then you'd have to get multiple sign-offs from multiple people before the money was allowed to send out. Now, a Gnosis multisig is the exact same concept, where you set up a contract that acts just like your wallet, acts just like a ledger or your MetaMask hot wallet, except nothing can get transferred out without multiple sign-offs. So I wanted to bring this up so you can see an example of this. I actually run some of my own stuff off a multisig because it allows me to see, basically, when you interact with a multisig like this, this is the actual address for the safe. So you can see tokens, you can see assets, you can transfer in and out. You can actually go to OpenSea, and if I have NFTs on here, you can see your profile on OpenSea, so you can view what's happening. And so what happens with this, if you've got assets in here, you can go through, you can see what assets you've got, you can see NFTs in here. That's right, you need to switch back and forth. But so with this, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want I need $500 for this. If you put your real solid assets, like in my example of Bored Ape, potentially, I just fell for a hack. Somebody just okay, they got me. I just gave them my seed phrase. Oh no, they're gonna steal my monkey from me. The minute they go to this multisig, if the multisig is the holder of it, they can use that the hacked account to initiate it, but you have to have a second account that signs off whether or not that gets transferred out. So this is another layer where it's like now it rests a little bit more on your shoulders to have this set up beforehand and potentially transfer the things that you really care to the multisig. But if anything happens, now it takes at least 2 or 3 wallets to get compromised, which if you've set up one as a ledger and one's on your MetaMask, you know what's happening. You can see what just happened. And now when you look at some of these, you can see everything. Like if this wallet got compromised, you could go in, you can see what's queued up. You can see what's ready to send. Usually in the queue, it would ask you to sign off on something. So for example, when I say I want to send this, hey, I want to send, $30 or to this. This allows you to do everything else. You can actually simulate in here too. You can see what's going to happen if you hit submit. Okay, I just said okay. Now somebody stole my wallet and they want to send it. Oh no, they signed it. So now there's a transaction trying to send this $30 to another wallet. You, as the owner of this other wallet, when you come in here, well, this needs to complete because this is like most blockchain things. You send something to the blockchain, then you've got to wait for it to run through. Now you can see here. So what just happened is somebody compromised my wallet. They went to send $30 to, another wallet. It stops there and it waits for a second wallet to log in and hit confirm on this. So now if I plug in my ledger, it'll come up and say, "Do you want to approve this?" That one step right there would have just stopped any of these hacks. Like a Bored Ape, if my Bored Ape was stored in here, yes, they would have been able to get in. They would have been able to transfer anything that was on that one account out. But the minute they hit my super cold vault, my Gnosis brainer, my Gnosis vault, they would start the initiation and they would start it, and then it would wait for a confirmation from your secondary account. And now you'd have time. Okay, this tells me that this wallet has been compromised. So you, as the vault owner, when you get in here as a settings, okay, this account's now hacked. I can't rely on this account anymore. This allows you to actually remove it. So usually I would recommend at least a 2 of 3 sign off and have it so you control all 3 accounts in different ledgers or different hot wallets or whatever, as long as they're multiple accounts. Because what this allows you to do is it allows you to get in here and delete the affected account, and now you don't have to worry about it. The other ones now work on it. Now the follow up after that is now you create a new wallet and you add it to the vault, because if you have a 2 of 3 sign off and you delete one of the users and you now only have 2 signatories and one of those accounts get hacked, you have no way to kick the user off anymore. So you always in a multi-sig, like this allows you to go as high as you want. I've seen some corporate practices where they have 7, 8. I've seen a lot of DAOs that potentially have 10 or 15 sign offs, or they'll have like 15 members that can sign off, and then you need at least 10 of that group to sign off. That allows you never get into a situation where a silent majority can overrule the rest and things like that. Like this can be used to set up a whole many DAOs use this as a central repository vault. I'm saying that I would recommend all individual users to also set up their own multi-sig like this. And then it's your own wallets, yes, but one thing that you can do here, like I could add my wife's account to it. I could add my mother's account. I could add my children's account to this. So if I pass away and I'm not able to hand this stuff off to somebody else, afterwards my family can go in here and they can potentially remove, if they don't have my private key, they can remove me and now they still have access to this. So this is a huge one. In fact, I've seen some potential, if you've got a lawyer who understands crypto, this is potentially one where you could add his wallet to this, because then if you have a dispute later on and you need to deal with escrow or potentially after you've died and everything goes to probate, this gives them a path to move these things. One serious issue that I've seen, especially with high value assets, these are things that, so obviously I'm a huge Ethereum maxi. I've been in the space for years and I've built a lot of projects and I've built my whole life around it. So I don't think this technology is going anywhere. I do think a lot of the tech and NFTs that we're seeing now, 10, 15 years from now, are going to totally dwarf what we're seeing now. So if we're talking price, if we're talking value, if we're trying to hand this off generational, everybody's talking about generational wealth. I want to hand this over to my kids. If you're not diligent in maintaining your seed phrase or controlling your main hot wallet, you're going to lose that opportunity. This is the sort of situation where you can have your child set up a wallet, add them to a multi-sig, train them on how to use this. So down the road, you don't have to be there and the wallets are still in possession of them without having to go through external third-party ones and hopefully trustworthy third-party people, because there's a lot of scammers in the space. There's a lot of scammers outside the space too. And everybody likes to make money, but this is a way to protect yourself and your personal assets much more effectively than just a simple ledger would give you. I mean, this acts in tandem with a ledger. You should still have at least one of these. Like I have this, my ledger is one of the sign offs here. So if something happens and my normal wallet gets compromised, it it stinks because I've got a lot of NFTs in that one. So I'm like, oh no, this is kind of bad. I just lost a bunch of stuff. I didn't lose everything. I think I've got maybe 7 or 8 wallets, and then occasionally I'll spin up another wallet so that if I'm doing something really weird or, oh man, this guy just posted, I get a free mint, I get something cool. Like, I need that. I don't want to use my main wallet. I don't even want to use my main hot wallet for that. So I spin up a new hot wallet and I go claim with that. And then I see, okay, did it get stolen back? Did I lose the extra $5 I put in that wallet to mint it? If that happens, then it's a good thing I used the new hot wallet to mint off it. So other links I wanted to bring up. I know I'm mentioning hardware wallets here. I know the two big ones are Ledger and Trezor. Honestly, I use a Ledger just because I always have and I've gotten used to it. I've used Trezors in the past as well. Both do the same function. Either one, as long as you've got one or the other, it doesn't really matter. They're both really good. So if you can get a deal on one, then you should probably go that route. But I know I've had a lot of conversations with the Ledger founding group. So just due to the nature of what I've done in the past, I've had some opportunities to talk to these guys, and I like the Ledger team just personally. I haven't had as much opportunity to talk to the Treasure team, but I've heard that they're really good too. So they're working on a lot of this stuff that's helping out. I think it's going to help everybody, but yeah, this is one of those things where it's frustrating seeing people getting hacked over something that could have been protected by buying, a $70 ledger. I mean, that's if you've got $100,000 in a single Bored Ape, like it's in your best interest to drop $70 just to buy a ledger. But I think that's where I wanted to go here. So, really, in conclusion, for the big talk, I really want to emphasize here that these hacks, these scams, they're not crypto native. They're not just crypto. And, it's making everybody think like I shouldn't get involved. I should not participate because crypto is so dangerous and, I will lose everything and I'll lose any money I put into it. And I'm saying it's not that simple. All these scams are the same. They're the same scams I've seen long, long before crypto was ever a thing. And some of it just requires a little due diligence on the end user's part. Uh, so that's what I've got for my demonstration here. And I wanted to open up the floor and see if anybody's got specific questions or they wanted to see something that maybe they had heard of or would like more information about. Yeah, let's see. Have I been duped? What are the flags you see that made you realize? I've been duped plenty of times. So for me, a few times I've been duped. I mean, occasionally I've gotten some links. I've gotten some email links, and you click it without thinking, and then but usually when it's happened, I'll see a MetaMask pop up come up because it'll ask you. You can't. It won't just pull stuff out of your wallet. The whole beauty and danger of this is that MetaMask specifically, you'll have a pop up saying, sign this transaction. If you don't understand what the top, sometimes it'll come up and it'll have, a long string of nonsense characters. So I've been pretty good about not clicking OK, but I remember early on, occasionally, you'd click it and then you'd be like, oh no, what did I just sign? You go back. So actually, a good call out for anybody who doesn't know. Etherscan. Etherscan IO is a blockchain and explorer. So if you're ever wondering, hey, did this really send? Uh, did this transaction go through? Like, what did I just sign? Uh, I have the ENS Trislet IO, which allows you to go here. So this is my wallet. If I sent something, you can see here's like a strange one. You can see set approval for all. So obviously I set an approval for something 7 days ago. If I just signed this and I was worried about what just happened, you could go in here and you could see set approval for all. Basically, this is saying that I set approval for this contract. So you can go pull this contract out, go look at what the contract is, and you can see what you just gave approval to. So that's after the fact a way to check it. The problem is, before that happens, hopefully if you ever see something pop up in MetaMask saying, accept something and you didn't just initiate something, then I would consider it pretty sus to start. Uh, it could just be a login. I've noticed occasionally we have some ones, where if you have an account that uses your Web3 to log in, sometimes it'll pop up just to log into the page. So maybe it's legit and it's okay, but you should, if you didn't initiate it, that's usually the first thing that causes you to start wondering. But I would always double check, make sure if you ever see MetaMask pop up with a pop up asking you for permission to do something, if you don't understand it, say no. That's full stop. Like if it was something you actually needed to do, you can always follow up and do it again. Go back to the page, reinitiate the piece. But if you don't understand why it's asking you for permission, don't just say no. Uh, yeah, Dragonade. Actually, you bring up a really good point. Like he was duped into giving up his Steam account. Like, yeah, I remember you told me about that. Like, some of this stuff is people downplay that because it's interesting. It's like, oh, it's just your gamer account. But anybody who's an actual true gamer who uses the Steam dashboard, I mean, there could be a lot of money tied up in that. They allow trading. They have all your achievements from your past playing. I mean, depending on how into gaming you are, like this could be 10, 20 years worth of work you've put in to gain all these achievements, all the game purchases you've got. I mean, I've got a habit of I like buying games on sale, so sometimes I'll look in and I've got maybe 100 games that I need to play. Like, so now it's oh no, my account's gone. Like if I ever want a chance to play those again, I've got to go pick them all up. Maybe they were on sale when I got them. So these are all. It doesn't feel as important because oh, it's not like I'm giving money away. It's not. It's like you're giving time away, which in reality is the same thing. So really, you should practice the same due diligence for your game account, for your Facebook account, for your, you know, even your Spotify account, things like that. One call out I want to bring up here is that all of these pieces that I'm talking about are traditional security concerns, and you should be doing it for all your normal accounts as well. In fact, you should use a different password for every application you use. And I know that sounds horrible, and I'm sure if you've had IT guys sitting there talking to you, they've probably said the same thing. You're always like, I hate all the passwords I've got already. The fix to that is to use a password manager. And I would recommend if it's something really high level, like they don't, I know there's a couple online password managers that supposedly have pretty solid protection, but I would usually recommend like I've used KeePass in the past because KeePass has a local database of passwords. So you get a USB key, you put the password vault on that USB key, and you store it. Use that for like for example, we're talking about uh, MetaMask. We're talking about Ledger seed phrases. If you got to store it digitally and you don't want to write it down, you should put it on some sort of password vault that has an offline password storage that you can store on a USB off your computer. Because if you ever put that seed phrase in a digital format somewhere online on the cloud, in a cloud service on your local computer, all of those are anybody who gets access to that can see it. Yeah, Dragon A, he's mentioning you should put it on something with encryption. They sell USB keys that actually have encryption chips on them, so you can actually have to have a password to unlock the USB key. But using an offline password vault like KeyPass is a good example. Using something like that, the password database is encrypted as well. So now it's already password protected. So right there, you've got somebody would have to get your USB key, get the password for the USB key, and then also get the password to unlock the password vault in there. You've just introduced so many roadblocks in that whole path that the chances of losing it have been minimized as much as you can, as much as is possible, really. But using something like that allows you to have different passwords for each of your apps without you going crazy because you've got to remember all these passwords. Obviously, you've got email, you've got your work computer, you've got Steam games, you've got your seed phrase for each video game now has a different login. Every service you use has a different login. Every bank account, your tax, if you have a CPA, usually they'll have a vault that you have to submit documents to. That's all password protected. Your insurance benefits, all these systems should have separate passwords, because if you don't, one big problem I've seen is that a lot of people, well, obviously I log into Spotify and Facebook, with the same password. I don't want to remember everything. If Spotify ever gets hacked and they just got your Facebook password too. And there are bots that will, anytime they find a password and it hits, it'll try every other social network, every other bank. It'll just auto try that same password for your account in every single one. So just be aware that any password you use on any app, if that app gets hacked or a password breach happens, every account you have that has that same password is going to get hit, usually pretty quick within a couple days. So I know some of these procedures are kind of a pain. Like I do hear that a lot. People say, "Oh, that's having too many passwords is too much of a pain in the butt." I'm like, yeah, it is kind of a pain in the butt. It's one of those training pieces. You need to, what do they say? Takes 10 days of doing a habit before it becomes, more ingrained. Like it's one of those things that's worth your time working on that habit, because it'll protect you a lot more than just crypto. It'll protect you in a lot of your other day-to-day activities, honestly. This is getting a little bit off topic of wallet security, but it's the same general practice and same general guidelines that you should be following anyway. Exactly. Just don't get hacked. Yeah. You see, that's the thing, is it's not that easy. I've noticed I've known a couple people in the space that have gotten hacked that actually do follow pretty good security practices, and that's, do not feel scared about creating new wallets. So the Ethereum the way the encryption goes, there's literally enough wallets for everybody in the entire world to make themselves hundreds of millions of wallets and never run out of addresses. There is no limit. There is no, like, this is your wallet. This is your one wallet you're born with, and you can never change it. It's not a social security number. You can, if you start collecting a big group of NFTs and you really feel strongly about, you know, the future of some of these, and you want to say, hey, I want this for 10 years, like, Bored apes are a good example. If you're the type of person that say this is just going to keep going up and I'm not going to sell for 10 years, then why do you have it in a hot wallet? Move it to a cold wallet. If you're not going to sell it, there's no reason to have it floating around in, easily accessible wallets. It's very similar to the savings account versus checking account sort of things. But a good way to identify, let's see, tips for identifying scams. So if you're going to go transferring assets, if you don't understand the technical back end of what's happening, you should always use trusted marketplaces. Like OpenSea is a good example. OpenSea has the ability to set up a when you go to sell something, you can actually set only one account that can buy it from you. So if somebody's talking to you, hey, I want to, do a special deal. I want to give you more money. I want to sell it under the floor. I want to do whatever. Like just set up an OpenSea uh, sale for that asset and set them as the recipient. If you were to do that, I mean, OpenSea does take a cut. So, there's some other ones. This pseudo swap is one that maybe lets you avoid royalties. But the point of the matter is that you need to use these trusted marketplaces to do the transaction if you don't understand what's happening on the technical side. If you do, I've even seen people who do understand the technical side just get cocky and not actually read what's happening. And then you hit the accept button, and before you know it, your asset's gone and you got zero for it, or they traded you something that was from a different collection that was marked wrong. You know, I really, I guess, reiterating what I said earlier is that anybody who comes into your DMs threatening to kill a deal because you didn't act quick enough, usually there's something else fishy going on there. That's true in any sort of social hack. That's true in, I mean, it's the same thing when you're buying a car, right? If the car salesman's talking to you saying, this deal's only going to last today. If you don't buy it now, you're not going to get it. That's why they recommend to walk away and then wait for him to call you the next day. It's always worth killing the deal if you don't feel comfortable. Actually, this goes back to Discord. A lot of crypto chat happens in Discord. So one really, really important thing that you should think about in Discord, if you right click your user settings, privacy and safety. When you set up a Discord account, you should be going to your privacy and safety. And most of these, you want to turn this off. Allow direct messages from server members. Because what you're doing when you do that is you're basically making it so anybody in the same server as you can send you a direct message totally independent from the server. And so at TokenSmart, we've tried to take it upon ourselves to have a lot of bots. Like anybody here has gone through the verification piece. You have to verify who you are, prove you're an owner, prove you're not a VPN. Like the idea behind that is that we're trying to vet the community a little bit to make sure, we've got people here. And then we also, Dragonite here and me, we're moderators. And if people start shilling or start trying to do shady stuff on the server, we usually kick them and ban them. But people come in, and if they're able to direct message you, we don't have any way to help. Basically, they can just send you whatever they want. And usually what you usually get, it'll be a, hey, what's going on? I saw you have this, or oh, what NFTs you've got for sale? Like send me a link, and if you send them your if you send them a link to your profile, like that's safe enough. They can't really do anything. They can just browse your wares because the whole point of Ethereum is it's open. But if they follow up with that and they say, wow, I like this asset, I want to buy it, you've just separated yourself from the whole community and you're alone with this person trying to figure out how to manage this trade. So if they start trying to push you in a direction you're not comfortable with, you have no resource, you have no recourse. Whereas at least if you do it, I mean, I would recommend people I've had people do it in the main chat on TokenSmart before. Like, if you've got a deal for this person, if you want to buy something, like just say what you want to do it right here. I'm willing to take a look at it. I'm willing to see what's happening. If somebody sends you a link saying, here, go click this and hit the accept button, I've got no problem going in, checking it, and then calling them out saying, hey, I see this is really odd. Like, why are you asking this person to allow this to happen? I mean, hopefully we're here to help you if you need it. But part of this is just making sure everybody's aware that the resources are there for you if you need it. Because would hate to, I'd hate to see somebody lose something really important to them when it's something that could have easily been helped by some of us, just reaching out or at least taking that extra 5 minutes to think about what you're clicking on and understanding what's happening. What's this? Yeah, Dragon8 posted this browserling.com. Yep, that's a good one. I mean, there's a couple tools. There's also revoke.cash is another tool. When we start talking about tools here, revoke.cash allows you to see what you've given access to. So what that means, whenever you click OK, you allow somebody to transfer something. Basically, whenever you're going to sell something, first thing you do, it comes up with a transaction saying, "Would you like to give access to?" If you're going through OpenSea, would you like to give access to OpenSea to be able to transfer your ape on behalf of you? Usually, it'll say, basically you giving OpenSea access to your any ape you own. So maybe you have 5 apes. If you give access for them to act on your behalf, all 5 of those apes are now up for grabs for anybody going through OpenSea. So usually the first transaction is allowing them to act on your behalf. The second transaction is setting one for sale. Now, normally that's not a big deal, but if you're clicking a, a link that's not from a trusted marketplace, if it's something somebody just sent you, if you're giving access to control, you don't know what they're going to do afterwards with that. That's why I'm emphasizing that if you're going to do something, especially on a hot wallet holding a lot of assets, you should be passing through normal through trusted platforms like OpenSea or any of the other ones. Well, thanks everybody for coming to my tech talk. And if you have any questions, I'm here, and you can jump back into the TokenSmart main chat. You can, if you have any takeaways or comments, or if you're getting hit by something or something feels like you're getting hit by a scam in DM, please reach out or drop something in the main chat. And it's anybody who says they've got an NDA with you for the likeness of your ape or something is really weird, and you should ask other people before signing anything. But that's all for today. Thanks, guys.